Mr. Pfluger, sir, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank everybody here. Thank you for your service. It may seem that I'm going to ask some hard questions, but it's only to actually help those that I've served with, those that you're already helping, and to do it in a way that is targeted, to use a pilot term, that will prevent and will continue to find the reasons. So as I mentioned, I think y'all were here for the previous questions. We have peer-reviewed studies. DOD has done these. We know that there are correlative factors between certain types of cancer flying. You heard my good friend Pablo testifying. Now it's time to pivot to the what. It is time to pivot to what is causing this. Why is this happening? When you sit in a cockpit that has a giant radar that is filled with electronics, that is exposed to the sun, there's so many different factors, and there's a lot of work already being done. So, Ms. Britton, again, thank you. Currently today, I'll just start with the simple question of, with the PACT Act, if a veteran aviator is diagnosed with cancer after he or she leaves the service, is that condition automatically presumptive under the PACT Act?
Thank you for that question, sir. I will defer to Ms. Moses to provide a detailed answer.
So thank you very much for that question. So in regards to whether or not the condition would be presumptive, it definitely would depend on which specific condition was diagnosed. Happy to take that back for specifics to answer your question.
I think I'll just go ahead and throw a guess out here that it's not. And that's the problem that I think we're trying to address here, is that we now know through 3 studies that are peer-reviewed that there is a linkage between flying healthy individuals who are literally the most physically fit people. They've been picked out of the society because they are physically fit. We had to go through enormous amounts of medical examinations in order to fly. No, we don't want to go to the doctor, but we were, we had to undergo lots of tests, and the cancer rates, just for the 3 that I mentioned, are 24 to 30% higher in this population of very healthy people than the normal civilian population. So, Ms. Britton, you mentioned in your oral testimony that you want to work with the committee. What edits do you see right now that we're proposing in ACES that the VA wants to suggest?
Sir, we don't have any specific edits at the time. What we are doing is still working to understand the studies that DOD is conducting, but I will defer to Ms. Moses to add further.
Thank you so much, Ms. Britton. We don't want to limit the conditions to the 11 conditions that are listed. We want to make sure that we are comprehensive. We understand that there are also existing research studies underway. We would like to leverage the data that is existing to identify what additional ways that we can identify causal factors.
And I'll just push back just a little bit on that, because why wouldn't we go with what the National Academy of Science is already recommending? They know that these 11 are correlative. So let's hone in on that as a starting point and go from there. Why are we waiting? Because, and I'll ask this, can you explain how waiting years for the DOD studies to finish out serves veterans now? Because we're in kind of crisis mode right now.
Sure, thank you very much for that question. And if you allow me to clarify, we're not stating that we're in objection to the 11 conditions. We just don't want to restrict to those 11. So we do support, we're in agreement with the 11, but we want to make sure that we're not restricting or limiting to those 11 conditions.
Do you agree, or Ms. Britton, do you agree that moving with an extreme sense of urgency right now is the right course of action?
Yes, sir, we do agree.
Is VA committed to moving with that extreme sense of urgency right now to help Pablo, to help? This could be me. I mean, literally, we're talking about people. This could be Mr. Bergman, who's a pilot, the general.
We are 100% committed to resolving this, sir, in the most timely manner as possible.
And will y'all commit today to briefing the secretary, who also is an Air Force veteran, by the way, on this issue, on the ACES Act, on the need for ACES Act to move with extreme urgency?
Certainly, sir. We are always excited to brief the secretary on these type of issues.
Thank you. Again, thank you for what you do. The questions, although direct, are built upon some frustration that I have over the last 3 years, because it's 3 to 4 years we've been working on this. And in that 3 to 4 year period, both Pablo and myself know many people who have been diagnosed now in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, which is, the rates are just extremely high. The data points to a need for ACES Act. We have a bicameral, bipartisan piece of legislation, ACES Act. Senator Mark Kelly, Mr. Tom Cotton, myself, and many others in the House and the Senate want to see this go. We're counting on you. Thank you for the work that you do to help so many veterans. I mean that sincerely. And Mr. Chairman, again, thank you for allowing me to wave onto this committee for such an important issue. This is my top priority.